data frames where the length was what in a data frame?
Column row.
Exactly. So in a data frame, excuse me, the length are the number of columns. But in a matrix, the length involves all the individual elements. Okay. So just like in a data frame, in a list also, the length is the number of distinct elements that are present in the list. Okay. Now, just like a data frame or a matrix, you can subset a list also. Okay. Again, using square brackets. I hope you remember yesterday's session. So if you want to say select the first element of the list, you write the name of the list. So this is what you have named it, right? And in the square bracket, you put 1 because this A occupies the position 1, B occupies position 2, and D occupies position 3. So if you run this command, you'll see that you select the first part of the list. Okay. Similarly, you can also subset a list using the name of that element. And again, since it's a name, it's character data, and character data should be in double quotes. Now, one more thing to tell you that this is not always true that in every instance you have to give character data in double quotes. There are exceptions to that also. There are some packages which have been written in such a way that you don't have to give double quotes. Okay, because then this creates it basically wastes time whenever you are coding to put double quotes continuously. Okay, so if you are writing a very elaborate pipeline, this can create a hindrance. So people have written packages where you don't have to give quotes also, but that is something again for intermediate and advanced users. Okay, so once you get comfortable with the basics, you can explore that. Now, like a data frame, you can also access the elements of the list using the $sign. So this again will give you the same result. Now, someone might have this question, which to use, which option to use. As I said yesterday, there is no one optimal way. Okay, so you select the best way that suits for you and use it. So if you think using numbers is easy, use numbers. If you think using $sign is easy, use $sign. So that is completely up to you. Okay, is this part clear? So this is what a list is, and you will notice whenever you start actually analyzing your data, you will see that many of the result objects of analysis are based on lists. Okay, they are not lists per se, they are different data structures, but their makeup is of like a list. So it can store any type of data. A list can also have lists within it. Okay, so this is a very nice thing about list. It's just that it doesn't have a specific pattern every time. So you won't find the rows and columns structure of data for lists every time. Is the list part clear? Any difficulties? Any questions? Do you want a minute or so to go over the list part? And let me know if you have any questions. And I hope you are running the code simultaneously as I am telling it. Okay, so that will let you see the results rather than just looking at the screen. Should we continue? Or do you want a minute? Okay. Now we'll talk something about missing values. Okay, any one of you can answer this question. That suppose you are carrying out an you're master students, right? Okay, yes. So you must have projects for your master as a part of your masters. You must have projects, right?
Yes.
So have you started with your projects already, or you still have to start? No.
Many of the people started, sir. It is in the process.
Okay. Okay. The reason that I'm asking is, have you ever done this process of entering data in Excel? Your own data set. That data set might be project related, work related, practical related. Have you done that? Actually, manually entered data in Excel,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
right? Okay. So suppose you are doing that, all right, and suppose you have carried out an experiment, and then you are entering the data in Excel for certain combination of that experiment. You don't have a data. You simply don't have data. Something didn't work, and you don't have data for it. What is it that you do in that case? Anyone? So suppose I'll make it easier. So suppose you have 4 concentrations of a chemical, yeah, and you are using or testing the ecotoxicological effect of those concentration of the chemical on, say, fish, species of fish. In one of the combinations of that chemicals with one of the specimens, you don't get any data. Suppose, say, the specimen dies before the experiment. So what do you do in that instance when you are entering data?
Maybe 0, sir.
No, you should never put a 0 there. Can someone tell me why?
Why? Because it's a blank, sir.
Exactly. There is no information there, right? The fish died. So how can it have a value of 0? 0 value tells you a completely different story. Putting 0 in such cells tells you that you carried out the experiment and you got 0 as a result. Okay, so both mean completely different things. Leaving the cell empty is the right thing to do. Simply because you didn't get any value, the fish died. So how can you get any value? Okay, and there are ways with which you can fill those empty spaces. Okay, that is a different topic altogether, but if you are interested, you can search for it online. It's called imputation, missing value imputation. If you are interested, you can look it up. So in R also, wherever you have these instances where you have missing information, R treats it as something called as NA, or missing value. Missing value is not equal to 0. Missing value is missing value. All right. Missing value can be of any data type. You can have a missing value in character also. You can have missing value in date also. You can have missing value in number also. Okay. So there are missing values for each of the data types, and you can have missing values in any of the data structures. And why are missing values important is because many functions have specific arguments or specific inputs that you have to tell, so that R knows how to handle those missing values. And if you don't tell those how to treat those NAs, you can get an error. All right. So is this part clear? So this is what missing value in R is. It's represented by NA. So if you run this command and look at this vector missing val, we'll see that there are 2 NAs in our data. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Okay. And why is this important? Because you are going to face this particular situation in many instances, that you have NA in your data, and this NA can occur accidentally also. So suppose you are hurriedly filling in the values and you forget to put certain values in certain cells, right? That can also happen. So you have information, but you forgot to put it there. And in such instances, analysis becomes a little difficult, because there is a special way to treating NA. You have to remove it in certain instances. Okay. The second type of such values are called as NaNs, simply meaning, if you run this command, not a number, not a number. And 0 divided by 0 is a perfect example for it, because it's not defined, so it's not a number. And what happens is, again, like NA, if you are carrying out some complicated analysis. So have you heard of multivariate statistics? Have you heard this term, principal component analysis? Have you heard about it?
Yes, sir.
Right? So these are all examples of multivariate statistics. And what happens is, there is a lot of data to deal with in such multivariate analysis. And if your numbers, I would say, if sometimes what happens is, the calculations that are occurring behind the scene, okay, they give you instances where this happens. And as a result, you get this. And then if you don't deal with this NaN, you are not able to proceed with the analysis. R will always throw an error that you have NaNs in your data. So in that instance, you have to remove those NaNs. Just like you can remove Na, you can remove those NaNs also. Okay, is this part clear? And the third type of value that you will be running into are infinity values or INF values. So don't be alarmed when you see such values. Okay, many a times what happens is, after carrying out this or any analysis, if you run or get NaNs, in some instances people suggest that getting NaNs means that your data input is going wrong somewhere. In some instances, all right, not always. And then there are ways to deal that also. So don't worry. As I said, with R, luckily there are solutions for almost all the problems. You just have to take time to go online and research about it. Okay, is this part clear? Any difficulties? Any questions?
Yes.
So yeah, so today's session will be a very short one. Okay, so because as I said, my aim here in these 2 days is to introduce you to R, right? Because data analysis as such doesn't require any skill, because you will see that there are thousands of web pages telling how to do t-tests and z-tests and ANOVAs in R. So once you know what the code is, how to go about that code, what are the data that you input, then any analysis is very easy. I'll maybe give you an example of a couple of them just to show you, okay, at the end of the session. Now we'll look at the most critical part for your session, is importing data. Because as I said yesterday, 99.9% of the time you will be working with your own data sets. Whatever data you collect in your experiments or projects is the data that you'll be analyzing. And R luckily has a ability to import many types of data. As I said, it's not only restricted to numbers. Okay, so if we find some time, I'll show you a text analysis that I'm currently doing just for fun, to tell you that data need not be always numbers and in rows and columns. You can have data of any type. Okay, so the first thing that we'll look at is something called as getWD. Now getWD here refers to something called as get working directory. Now what is this working directory? This working directory is the directory where R will store your results by default. Okay, whatever you export from R, it will be stored in that directory. How do you find out which is the basic or default directory R has selected for you? You use this function. Just put getWD and empty parenthesis. Don't put anything inside it, and run the command. You'll see that my working directory is this. You will get a different working directory in your machines. Okay, now suppose you want to change this. You are not happy with this particular working directory. The way you change it is, you go to tools, tools drop down menu, you go to global options, click that. I don't know, it's taking time. Why? Yeah. So if you look at the second option here, do you see this? what is written here? Default working directory. Now if you want to change this, just click on browse, select whichever folder that you want, press open. Okay, once you have pressed open, first click apply. Don't click OK first. First click apply, then press OK. And then for that change to come into effect, you have to restart your R session so that the changes are permanent. Okay, so that is how you can basically change your working directory. All right, any questions, any difficulties? Should I show it again?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you go to tools,
Tools for them.
yeah, then you select global options, right? In general itself, so you don't have to search here anymore. In general itself, you will see this default working directory when not in a project. That is your working directory.
General.
Now you click browse, okay, and then you navigate to the folder that you want as your working directory. That can be any folder, okay, as per your choice. All right, once you are satisfied with this selection, you first press apply. Do not press OK first. First press apply, then press OK.
Okay.
Okay, and for changes to come into effect, you have to restart the session. Okay, so whenever then you start the new session, your working directory will be changed. Is that part clear? Any questions?
Yes, sir.
So that was about the working directory. Now, there are multiple ways of importing data, and I'm going to show you the easiest one. Okay, it's the most easy way to import data. In the environment part, do you see this option called as import data set? Okay, you click this import data set. Now, has any one of you heard of this file extension called as CSV?
It's
And what is that CSV? Right. This CSV file you can create in text also using TextPad or WordPad. Or luckily, Excel also has the capability of exporting your data as a CSV. Luckily, okay. So you don't have to use TextPad or WordPad. You can simply use Excel, and you can export your file as a CSV file. And what is the difference between a CSV and an Excel file? CSV file is less in memory than an Excel file. Yeah, it's lighter than an Excel file. And this won't matter right now because our data set is very small. But if you have like data sets which run into GBs of data, then CSV and Excel are going to matter. Okay. So I have sent two files to you. Okay. There is a CSV file and there is an Excel file. And I'm going to show you how to import both of them. Okay. So first we'll import a CSV file. All right. So go to this import data set. Yeah. And you click on it. There you will see a bunch of options. You have to select the first option from text. Okay, because as I said, you can also create a CSV file in TextPad or WordPad. But luckily for us, R also lets us import Microsoft Excel CSV file. So then navigate to the place where you have stored today's files and import or select the CSV file. I'll show it to you again. Go to import data set. Yeah. Select the first option from text and then select the CSV file that I have sent you and press open. So all of you see this window on your machines?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there are some options that you should explore and there are some options which you should keep as they are until you get used to using R. Okay. So the options that will change is the name. So you can give any name that you want here. So suppose I put this. Oh, I'm sorry. Suppose I say I want the name to be this data analysis chief. Yeah. So this is going to be the name of my data set in R. If you remember yesterday's session of naming objects, naming variables, so this is your name of that object of your CSV file. Okay. Encoding you don't touch. Let it be as it is. Heading basically tells R whether the first row of your data set are column headings. In our case, they are. If you look at the input file, you'll see factor, var1, var2, var3. These are the column headings. So you select yes. Okay, once you select yes, you will see a change in the bottom window. Now this factor, var1, var2, var3 are at the top. When it was no, you could see v1, v2, v3, v4, v5. Okay, so you say yes. This will basically by default give the column names to your data set. Similarly, if your data has row names, you can tell that the first column, so your row names have to be the first column in the data. All right, so you click first column here. In our case, we don't have row names, so we don't do anything. But if you have row names, you can select the use first column option. Okay. Separator you don't change because this is CSV file. So comma remains as it is. Decimals in our case are always periods. All right. Because in European countries, they also have commas. And that is why you have an option here. But in our case, we always use periods. The rest too, let it be. This is also important. How do you want your NAs to be represented in R? Okay. So you, for now, don't change anything here. You let it remain NA. Okay. And the last option is something called as strings as factors, which we'll talk about a little later. Okay. So you keep that as it is. Don't select it. Once you have looked at all these options, click import. Once you have clicked import, you will see in the terminal window on the left hand side, you will see your data set that has been imported. And at the same time, in the environment section, you will see this data set being imported or put there. This basically means you have successfully imported your data. Okay, maybe I'll give you a couple of minutes to go over all this. So use 2 minutes to 3 minutes to go about it properly. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please do ask. Any difficulties in importing this data set? Is anyone facing any problem?
Yes.
We can move on, sir.
Okay. So you can basically explore your data right here itself once you have imported it. Okay. So you can look at if there are any empty spaces that you have by mistaken left it as is, where there should be a value. Okay. So as I said, this happens quite commonly that in a hurry, you forget to input some data. So you can explore it here. Yeah. So this is one way to go about it. Now, before I show you the second way, we'll talk about installing packages. So, excuse me. Yesterday I talked to you about different libraries, right? So what we'll do is, I hope all of you have good internet connection, at least a decent internet connection on your machines, or you don't have internet connection. Means the individual laptops.
So we have internet connection.
For the individual laptops also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So the function to use in R, okay, for any package is called as install.packages. Okay, so this is the function. In the parenthesis, again in single or double quotes, you tell the name of the package you want to install. Here we are installing this package called as read excel. What does read excel do? It basically helps you import Excel files, because core R packages don't have the functionality to import Excel files in the R environment. Okay, now be careful. You install your package only once, so don't run this command multiple times. If you do that, your machine will hang up. Just run this command once. Okay, if your internet is good, installation will happen and you will see that the package is successfully installed. A message on the console. You will see this information here once the package has been installed. Again, installation of the package you have to do only once. Only once. But every time you want to use this package, you have to use this function called as library. Library basically imports all the functionality into your R session. So how to go about it is write library, within parenthesis write the name of that package. But here you need not use quotes. You can simply write the name of the package and press run. Okay, so first install this package. And again, please do not run this command multiple times. Just run it once. And once you have installed it, import that library by running library command. Is it installing?
Sir, we are installing.
Okay, is it, that installation is happening, right? So yeah, good. So it might take us some time if the internet connection is slow. And you'll see a message in the console that your package has been successfully installed, and some MD5 something. So that is the message that you get in the console. That basically means your package has been successfully installed.
वो zip
Title screen.
Only the downloaded binary packages are in your location.
read Excel.
Let me know when you have, all of you have installed the package. Okay.
library random sir. So
control and it will automatically. After cursor here, control enter it automatically. Now which it is download install. Nothing to show. Is it downloading or not? Nothing to show. It's doing something. Download it. Download it.
Okay, should we continue? Or is it still installing?
will become nuanced.
Continue. Okay. So once you have installed the package, you have imported the library, there is this function called as read_exec. Okay, that function is from the package read_exec. So unless you import your library, you won't be able to use this function. Okay, again, I'll repeat this. Installation you do only once. Importing library you do every time when you open R session. Every time. Okay. Now, once you have installed and imported this library, you can also go to this option, import dataset. And here, do you see the third option from Excel? You select this. Now, in the browse selection, click on it and then select your Excel file that I have provided, not the CSV, okay, Excel file, and you press open. So once it has imported, it will give you a preview. Now here, one thing to notice is you'll see something written as double. So you need not be worried. Double is basically the data type name referred to decimal data. Or float also. You'll also hear this term called float or double. So you need not be alarmed. They are basically numerical values with decimals. Okay. Now, similar to a CSV file, you can basically change or alter some aspects of the data set. First is the name. What name do you want to give? Okay. Then here there is additional functionality of which sheet do you want to import from the workbook. So it might be that your data is not in the first sheet, but say in the fifth sheet. You can select that sheet here. The rest I would suggest not to use right now for beginning purposes. You can also specify if you want to skip the first n rows, meaning you are not interested in the first 5 rows. So you can just put 5 here, so that whenever data is imported, the first 5 values will be ignored. If you want the entire data set to be imported, don't put anything here. And in the last option again, it asks you how to treat any. So here you leave it blank. Don't put anything here. All right. So once you are satisfied with all the options, you can press import. So it might take some time also.
Sir,
Yeah.
when I press import data set, it shows preparing data important requires an updated version of the read Excel package. Do you want to install this package now?
Yeah, you can press OK.
But I tried like twice, but it shows the same thing again and again.
Maybe no. So what happens is on some machines, I don't know why this happens. So wherever you are installing packages, these packages also have some prerequisites of their own, meaning they also require some other additional packages to be downloaded. And on some machines, for some reason or the other, those packages are not installed. So what I would suggest is in that case, just restart your machine and try doing it again, because there is no simpler alternative to this. It's very unfortunate. I'll show you one more way to go about it. So as I said, there is this function called as read_excel. Okay. So rather than doing this, what you can do, you can first write the name of the file, whatever file name that you want. Put the assignment operator. Use this read_excel function. Okay. And within this function, you put something called as file.choose. The file.choose in R lets you choose your own file. Whatever file you want to select, it lets you do that. The second argument after comma is the sheet. Which sheet do you want to import? Okay, so if you run this command, what will happen is either you will get a dialog box immediately in front of your RStudio window, or this window will be behind your RStudio window. So in my case, it is there. It's located behind the R² window. So if I click it, I'll see this dialog box. Okay, and here also I select the Excel file and I press open. So this basically imports my data set in. Is this part working properly or no? If you run this way, same error. And is this happening with every machine or only one or two machines?
Happening with all machines.
One message.
Have you installed the read_excel package properly? So when you run the library read_excel command, what do you get? So two things might have happened. First is you press the install packages multiple times. That could have happened. That could have stopped your installation and your machine could have hung up. That is one thing that could have happened. Second is, as I said, there are certain dependent packages that might not have been successfully installed, but that won't happen on all the machines. Okay, it happens in one or two machines. So check if the library is importing successfully. So whenever you run library command, what is the message that you get?
I'll read.
Pardon? What is the message that you get?
Warning message package.
Yeah, so that means that the package has been successfully imported. The people who are getting the warning message means their package has been successfully imported.
Okay.
So for the people who got that yellow message in yellow color, so
Warning message. Okay, just field under our version.
yeah, so you run this command for the people who imported read_excel properly, the library. Run this command. Run this command. You'll see this dialog box either appearing in front of your RStudio window or it will be behind the RStudio window. Right? So just select the Excel file. Press OK. Again, don't run this command multiple times. Okay, just run it once. Okay, only once. If you don't see the dialog box, it's going to be there behind your RStudio window. Okay, so don't panic and click or click on it multiple times, because then that will again hang up your machine. Were you able to do that properly? Any questions with that? Was everyone able to do it properly?
Sir, can you just repeat the 86th one?
Yeah, so you basically use this function read Excel. Okay, this function is from the package, this read Excel package. Inside that, you use this function called as file.choose. File.choose lets you choose your own file, whichever file you want. And the second argument is the sheet number that you want to import. In certain instances, it might be the case that your sheet number is not number 1, but it's say 3rd or 4th or 5th. All right. So if you, when you run this command, you'll see this dialog box. This dialog box is nothing but for you to select your own file. So you have to navigate to the place where you have saved the file. Okay. If you don't see this dialog box is going to be there behind your RStudio window. So you have to minimize it, your RStudio, and look at that dialog box behind it. Okay, in some instances that is going to happen, that you are not going to directly see the dialog box, but it's going to be there behind the RStudio window. Okay. Were you able to do that?
Yes.
So now what we'll do is we'll use this particular data set for further exploration. This part basically means now what you have done is you know your data type, data structures, and you know how to import your data. Okay. The next part of basics is to explore your data. All right. The way to explore it, there are multiple again ways to do that, but the best function to do that or to use is called as str. Str basically stands for structure. All right. So if you run this command, so it basically takes in the argument or the input as your data, whatever name you have given to the data. So we have given this name, but suppose tomorrow you give a different name, you have to put that name here. Okay. And when you run this command, you will see different options or different values here. So what are these values? Forget this. Okay, this is a type of data frame. So for you, this is data frame. All right. So don't worry about it. This gives you the number of rows and number of columns. The first square bracket here. This tells you that it is a data frame. Okay. These, if you see the $sign and the name, these are the names of the columns. Factor, var1, var2, var3, var4. Then it gives you the type of the data for each column. So factor is character data. var1 to var4 is numerical data. And at the same time, it also shows you the first few observations. So you get so much information just by a single function. Okay. So that is one way of viewing your data. The second way is to use this function called as view with a capital V, not a small v. Okay. If you run this command, you'll see a view. But this is not as informative as a structure because this doesn't tell you what the data types are, what is the data structure. It just gives you the values. Again, which to use, you can choose any one which you find proper and you can use it, or you can use both also. Okay, is this part clear? Any difficulties, any questions? So yeah, maybe you can take a minute to look at the structure of the data. Was everyone able to import their data properly, the Excel part, or were there issues? If there were issues, what I would suggest is, after the session, if you get a chance of getting again a good internet speed or good internet connection, try running this script or part again. For the people who ran this particular command and got a warning message, in those machines the package has been successfully installed. You need not install it again. Okay.
Red color. Yeah. So in red color. Red color.
Any questions? Should we continue, or do you want to take a couple of minutes more?
You can move on.
Okay. So this is one way of viewing your data. Now, suppose you are interested in just viewing the top n observations. You are not interested in looking at the whole data set. You can use this function called as head. And within the brackets, you give the name of the data and the number of observations that you want to see. So suppose I use 5 or say 6 here. And if I run the command, I see that R only shows me the first 6 variables, first 6 data points. The first 6 data points, all right, not the bottom, the first. If you want to see the bottom n observations, you use this function called as tail. So the arguments remain the same, but here the data that you get is from the bottom up, not the top down. So you'll see the last 5 observations. All right. If you are interested in only knowing the number of rows of your data, you have this function called as n row, number of rows. The input that you give for this is your data set name. If you run it, you will see that it will give you the number of rows. Similarly, you have a function called as ncol, which is basically number of columns. You run that command, you'll see that it is. Okay, now you'll appreciate that this str function does everything for us. It gives you number of columns, number of rows, first 4 observations or 5 observations. So it's up to you again how to go about it. Do you want to use this individually, or do you want to use a single function? If you are interested in knowing the column names of your data set, the function to do that is call names. You'll see the function, you'll see the names of your columns. Similarly, if you have row names for your data, you can use the function row names. Now here, if you notice, can someone tell me what this is? What would this be?
No names.
What does it look like? What type of data does it look like?
Raw data.
Data type. Yes, exactly. So now I hope you understand the difference. These are numbers, but still they are within quotes. So R treats them as character data. Okay, whenever you see such instances, so say in your str function, ideally your numerical data, whatever numerical data, should have num or int. If it has chr, it means that you have made some mistake while importing the data or while entering your data in Excel. So if you import such data, no matter how hard you try, you won't be able to carry out any analysis because R doesn't recognize your numbers as numbers, right? But then what do you do in that instance? You can change one type of data into another. You can do that in R itself. Okay. The way to do it is using this family of functions called as dot. Suppose I want to convert my character data into something called as factor. Now, do you know what ordinal variables are? Can someone tell me what ordinal variables are? Have you heard of this term, ordinal variables? Anyone? Nominal and ordinal variables. Have you heard of these terms?
Nominal or yes, sir.
Yeah. So what is nominal variable?
Nominal means that in the 1 to 3, ordinal means ranking data.
I'm not able to hear you properly. I'm very sorry.
Sir, ordinal means that ranking data.
Which
Ranking.
Right, exactly. So ordinal variables have an inherent value. Can you give me an example?
Rank in the class or something.
So your GPA, right? Rank is still a number, right? Your GPA is given as character data. O, A, B, C, D, whatever, F, right? But when you say O grade, it immediately has some inherent value. So O is greater than A is greater than B, always, right? But suppose you take, for instance, blood groups. Do blood groups have any inherent value? Means hierarchical value or ranks? No, right? So such kind of data are nominal data. And the data, character-based data, which have some inherent value are called as ordinal data. And in R, there is a special object called as factor, wherein you can treat these ordinal variables separately as a distinct object, distinct data type. Okay. Now suppose I have this character data, right? Our factor column is a character data, and I want to convert it into factors. Okay. This character data, I want to convert it into a factor because I know that factor A is greater than factor B is greater than factor C. How do I do that? So as I said, there are a family of functions. Family meaning there are many as dot functions available. There is a as dot function for converting numeric data, character data, logical data. So I'll just show you. So just pay attention here. Look at the number of as dot functions here. See, there must be at least 50. This basically lets you convert one data type to another. Okay, so suppose this is your character data. You want to convert this data into factor data. So what do I do? First, I give the name of that particular column, right? Because that is the data I want to be converted, or I want that converted. Then I assign it a new value. Okay, I assign it a new value. What is this new value? I want this to be converted into a factor. So I say as dot factor, and I put the name of this particular column. Why do I put the name here again? The same name. What will happen if I say, if instead of factor I put var1 here? What do you think will happen? Take a guess. What will happen if instead of this, if I put var1 here, what will happen? You can guess. What do you think will happen? Anyone? No? What will happen is you are assigning, okay, this is your original data. You are assigning it a factor conversion from your character data to factor. So the data should be the same, right? Because this is something you want to get converted into a factor. You don't want this original data to be converted into var1 or var2 or var3. Because if you do that, what will happen is this column will get converted into var1, whatever you put here. Okay, so that is very dangerous. So you want to convert the same column into a different data type. So the name has to be same. Okay, and I want to convert it into a factor. So I say as dot factor. Suppose your numerical data has been converted into character data. What will you do in that instance? So you have a column where there are numbers, but still R treats them as characters. Then what will you do? So say, let's say var1 has been imported as character data.
As that numeric.
As dot
Numeric.
as dot numeric, exactly. So what will happen is you will put var1 here, right? Because that is the variable or column you want to change, correct? And what do you want to change it into? You want to change it into numeric. From character, you want to change it into a numeric data. So as dot numeric, and in this particular input, you'll put the same name, right? Because you want the same data set. You just want the type to change, not the data to change. Okay, so be very careful when you use this. Okay, the names have to be same, and then you can change any type of data into input. So suppose by mistake you imported data where this happened, that your numbers are characters. So need not worry. You can change it here itself. All right. If you run this command now and you look at the class of your data, it will get converted to a factor. It won't be CHR anymore. Okay. Is this understood? Any difficulties with this? Any questions? Should we continue? Okay. Now you can also look at the levels of factor. How many different factors there are in your data. So the function to do that or use is called levels. And the input is the column name or column that you are interested in. If you run this command, you'll see that there are 3 factor levels in your column factor. Okay, it's not necessary always to use this, right? This is just something I'm using for explaining. You need not use it every time. Is this part clear? Should we continue? So once you are done with that, okay, so once you have imported your data properly, once you have changed the data type, if there is any mistake there, then you can also subset your data. Meaning, it might be the case that you don't want the entire data set. You might want to use subsets from the chunks from that data for your analysis. Now, yesterday we looked at subsetting, right? I hope you remember. So you give the name of the data, and within square brackets, this will basically access a specific element, right? A specific element of row and column combination. In addition, what you can do is, suppose you are interested in randomly, or you are interested in selecting different rows from your data set. So in our case, what we want is we want to select the 3rd, 4th, 9th, and 17th row from that data. How do you do that is, you first give the name, okay? You put square brackets, and then you give a vector of the row numbers. Okay, this is a vector if you remember from yesterday's session. And the numbers represent the positions of the rows that you are interested in. Okay, and after comma you don't give anything because you want all the content of those 4 rows. So if you run this command, you will see a subset of that data has been created for all columns, but only these 4 rows. Okay, similarly, you can also subset columns like this. So here what we are doing is, we are telling R that you only want the first and the fourth column. You don't want the rest. In the same fashion, you can also put names of the columns here or names of the rows here. But what is the precaution that you should take in that instance? Suppose you want to use names. What is the one thing that you should keep in mind? Whenever you are putting names, name should have what? What is this?
What?
Double quotes, right? Double or single quotes. They should be within quotes. So what you can do is after this session, just for fun, instead of numbers, put names and see what happens. Now we don't have row names for our data. But if you have in your data set, you can also subset using row names. So again, you just provide a vector of row names, a vector of column names. All right. You can also rename your columns within R. And the way to do that is, if you remember, call names basically gives you the names of the columns. But for assigning new names, you still use call names. You don't use any different function. So what you do is you write call names. Within parenthesis, you use or select the data that you have named. And you basically assign it a vector of new names. So this is a vector, right? This is a vector of new names. Here what you have to be careful about is the sequence of the names should be what you intend it to be. Meaning, suppose, okay, so suppose this is our data, right? The first column is factor, right? It's named factor. Just think what will happen if you just by mistake put var1 here and factor here. These names are going to get shuffled. Okay, and var1 is numeric and factor is factor data. So if you misplace or if you change the names and if you want to carry out certain analysis, you won't be able to do that because this is not numerical data anymore. You simply made a mistake while naming the columns. Is this part clear? Any difficulties, any questions? No? Okay. Now you can also change single column names. So it's not necessary you have to change all the column names. It might be the case that you are interested, say, in changing just a single column name. The way to do that is exactly or similar. So this part remains the same. But here in square bracket, you provide the column number for which you want to change the name. What we are telling R here is you want to change the column name of the third column. And what do you want to change it into? Variable 2. Here there is no C, so there is no vector because it's a single value, but it's within double quotes. So if you run this command and look at our call names now, you'll see that your variable var2 has changed to variable 2. Okay, is this part clear? Any questions? So this is how you can edit your data. This is basic editing of your data. Now, does the R analysis part or R study part end here? Absolutely not. This is where it begins. Once you get comfortable with using this set of codes, you can then start exploring more complicated concepts in R. Okay, but then now the journey will become much more easier for you if you understand these concepts properly, the one that we looked at, because these are the most crucial parts of learning R. The analysis parts comes at the very last, all right. So yeah, so I had told you that I will show you a pipeline, right? So what I'll do is I'll show you something called as a R markdown file. So it's a special type of file wherein you can basically create reports in R itself. So you don't need to use Word or Excel or anything. So just give me a second. Search. Yeah. Is this visible? So this is a R file, special type of R file. It gets converted into HTML file, and here you can give, or here you can write also. So what are, suppose you want to write a project, then you can basically write an introduction, rationale, and the associated code also is, you can toggle it. So you want to show it, hide it, you can. So the possibilities are limitless. Once you know the basics of R, the possibilities are limitless. So you can basically create such pipeline. So this is a code pipeline. Okay, so you can see tables. You can navigate through tables. You can have maps like this in R itself. You can have plots. And this is a single file, all right? So I don't have to use Excel, Word, 10 different softwares to carry out this operation. This is just using R. You can have your multivariate analysis, and you also can have your inferential statistics. So everything can be bundled into a single R file. Okay, so here the main criteria is that you should learn your basics first. That have to be absolutely clear. Once you get to know and you're comfortable with the basics, then you start exploring more complicated concepts. Okay, so you can learn about functions. You can write your own custom functions. You can learn about specific domain of life sciences. So if you are interested, say, in GIS analytics, so there is a complete subdomain of R which handles GIS analytics. If you are interested in sequence analysis, there is a complete part in R which deals with sequence analysis. Protein analysis. So there are packages specifically written for that. But all of that basically boils down to the fundamental concepts that you learned in these two sessions. If you know these parts properly, then you will be able to learn more complicated part very easily. Okay, so keep practicing. So my message to you is keep practicing. Make a lot of mistakes while studying or learning. The more mistakes you make, the more you will learn. If you just use these 2 days and you assume that you know R, then it's not going to happen that way. You have to keep on practicing and you have to keep on working on it. Okay, so with this, I end my session. Of course, if you have any questions, you are welcome to ask.
Any questions? Sir, thank you, sir. Thanks for your
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Any questions, participants? No questions.
And you can always so sir has my email address. So if you have any queries, you can email me also. Not an issue. Okay, sir.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, sir. Good day. Bye-bye.
कार्ति அடுத்த செஷன் என்ன கார்த்தி?